Look closely. This is a photographic negative, hidden inside a piece of cloth 600 years before the photograph was invented. No one painted it. No one has ever fully explained how it was made. And the first man to truly see it saw it by accident in the dark. It's a strip of linen, 14 feet long, faint, yellowed, scorched by an old fire. At a glance, almost nothing. The ghost of a man, front and back, as if a body had been laid down and left its shadow behind. For centuries, it rested in a cathedral in Turin. Then, in 1898, a lawyer named Secondo Pia was allowed to photograph it. And in his darkroom, something impossible happened. Pia expected a blur. Instead, a face rose out of the developing plate. Calm, detailed, human. Because the image behaves like a negative. Light where there should be shadow. Shadow where there should be light. His negative came out as a positive, which opens the first question. How does a medieval cloth hold a hidden negative? 3 centuries before anyone knew what a negative was. In 1978, a team of American scientists were given 5 days with the cloth. They came expecting paint, a brushstroke, a forger's hand. They found none. The color lives only on the topmost fibers of each thread, shallower than a stain. So if it isn't painted, what is it? Then came the detail that still stops researchers cold. They fed the image into a machine that turns brightness into height. A photograph, run through it, collapses into a smear. A painting flattens into a mask. The shroud didn't collapse. It rose into a 3-dimensional human form, as if the cloth had recorded not light, but distance, the space between a body and the sheet laid over it. No one knows how to paint that. So how old is it? In 1988, 3 laboratories, Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona, dated a single thread. Their verdict, published in the journal Nature, was blunt: medieval. Between 1260 and 1390. For many, the case was closed. And then, it reopened. One of the original scientists noticed the tested corner held cotton and dye found nowhere else in the cloth, as if they had sampled a medieval repair, rewoven into a far older sheet. Later studies, using X-rays, suggested the linen could be older still. Each has its defenders, each has its critics, and the honest heart of this story is 3 words: we don't know. So set the dating aside, and simply look at the man. The cloth records him in unbearable detail. Wounds through the wrists, not the palms, anatomically correct, and unlike almost every medieval painting. More than 100 marks across the back, matching a Roman scourge. Blood that flowed, the way real blood flows. If it is a forgery, it is one that understood human anatomy and Roman execution better than the artists of its own age. Why hide accuracy no one back then could even check? This year, the questions reached the cloth's own DNA. In 2026, geneticists in Padua found a genome overwhelmingly from the Middle East, threaded with traces from India and Europe. But here is the humbling catch. That DNA doesn't belong to the man in the image. It belongs to everyone who ever touched it. The weavers, the pilgrims, the priests, the scientists. The shroud remembers every hand that ever held it. And through all of it, the central mystery has never been solved. Not the age, the image. A discoloration 1 fiber deep, carrying 3-dimensional information. With no paint, no scorch we can copy, no technique, ancient or modern, that fully reproduces it. We have walked on the moon. We have split the atom. And we still cannot say for certain how a faint man came to rest on a piece of cloth. Maybe it's the greatest artwork ever made by a genius whose name we lost, Maybe it's exactly what millions believe it to be. Maybe it's something we don't yet have a word for. The shroud doesn't tell you which. It simply waits, folded in the dark, holding one quiet question. What would it take for you to believe an image? Tell me below. This is Saints and Shadows.